Welcome back, everyone. Lots of love was shared on Valentine's Day, but love isn't just for couples. Parents share their love with their children. Judy Arnall from Professional Parenting Canada is with us now. Good morning, Judy.
Good morning.
And Judy, you're here to talk about the different languages of love for our children, which is so interesting because I think a lot of us think when we talk to younger kids and babies, we just do this little baby talk and, that's kind of good enough. But there are 5 different ways. So that's really interesting. So let's get into it then. One of the ways you say is time. So what does that mean?
Well, the 5 love languages came about from Dr. Gary Chapman, who did 5 love languages, wrote a book on it, and he also did one on parenting. So 100 years ago, we had kids, and it was kind of a functional relationship. So we'd have kids so they'd work on the farm and take care of us. Nowadays, it's a love relationship. And there's 5 ways that we show love to kids and kids show love back to us.
Okay.
So they're time, gifts, acts of service, physical touch, and, of course, words.
Okay. And so a lot of those are obvious, obviously, touch. You want to give your kids hugs and that sort of thing, be affectionate with them.
Right. So hugs and touch come very easily as kids are little, but for teenagers, they still need it too. If that's their love language, they need you to keep hugging them and giving a pat here and there and just keep going on that. Yeah.
And your time is obviously very important, really, whatever age they are, just giving them your time.
Giving time. We often think of showing our love to kids in terms of gifts, but gifts aren't always what they want. It's time together, it's touch, it's, acts of service. Well, parenting is one big act of service. So
yeah, what does that mean, acts of service? So what are these acts of service?
Well, for example, say your snarly teen son never says, I love you to a parent, right? But he brings you a cup of tea with a cookie. Yeah. That's his way of saying, okay, I love you. And as parents, we have to be very careful because it's a love relationship not to punish kids totally, but not using that love language. So for kids whose love language is touch, you don't want to spank them. For kids whose love language is time, you don't want to give them time out because that's especially painful for them.
Well, that's so interesting. Okay, yes. You also say gifts. So now what does that mean? Because you don't want to spoil your child either. So when is a gift appropriate?
Well, we think of gifts as things we go to the toy store and buy them. But for kids, a lot of times is just picking up, say your child likes rocks or has a rock collection and you found a really pretty rock and you come home and bring it to them and they just love it and they will cherish it forever. They will not let you get rid of any of their things, even if they're not using them.
Okay, that's a good idea. So really with all these different ways of loving language-wise, you really have to watch, like what your kids prefer is really, you got to really watch them. You got to see what they do. Like you say, your teenager may not say I love you, but they're doing these acts of kindness for you. So you really just got to watch them to see what they prefer.
Yes, you do. And they show it about an early age, like around 2 or so. You'll know if one child is more cuddly and huggy or one child is more prefers words and those kinds of affirmations.
Okay, so you got to monitor your kids and find out what they prefer, but there's lots of different ways to love them. And you have a webinar on February 20th, and it is free for everyone, and the website professionalparenting.ca to get even more advice. Thank you so much, Judy. We really appreciate you coming in today.
Thanks for having me.